Everything a person goes through in life, that's reality, right? Reality is whatever a person goes through. That's their life, plain and simple. Now, each person gets something different from reality. One person has an easier life, another has a harder life. Each one gets whatever life, meaning reality, puts in front of them. And this is what I call revealed reality, the reality that shows itself. In revealed reality, a person can't step out of their story, meaning whatever was decided for them, they grew up like this here or there. They grew up with these parents, they grew up in this kind of town. That's how it'll be. They can't change their route or their reality. So what is our hope? That inside this everyday reality, there's another reality. And we call it hidden reality. Why hidden? Because a person doesn't see it, even though it's right in front of them, even though it's within everyday reality. And reality is the life of every person. I'll give you a rule that's really, really strong. In the reality we live in, how do we actually live it? Usually it's through the eyes. The eyes look at reality because there is reality and the eyes see it. It doesn't matter, even if, for example, there's a blind person. Because he knows how to walk, someone leads him. That's also called seeing reality. The eyes are about seeing the story. They're the ones that interpret it. So you see reality, and you can't understand that the way you see it is how reality will behave towards you in return. And it will change and decide who you'll marry, what will happen, how things will be at work. Your whole story will go according to your point of view. Now, why is this called revealed reality? Because it's revealed to your eyes. That's what you see. You go out of the house, you see the road, you see what's there. Suddenly, a car comes toward you. This is part of reality. This is part of your life. And the hidden reality is always there and will always be, because we see reality in everything we are. Say now, you drive on the road from your house to the end of the street. Every second you see the road, that's after you've already seen the road. But before you even saw that previous meter or mile, the one your car is just about to drive on, there was no road there. There was a reality that no one sees. And in that reality, I could be at work half a second after leaving the house. It's all just the example. If we compare each person to a letter in a book, we see that the letters, each letter is separate and different from the others, right? That's the difference there is between each and every person. We're very different from one another. So we can compare a person to a letter in a book. The letter in the book is the person who knows themselves. They know who they are. They know what they look like. They know how they behave. They know a little bit about their character, but they don't notice that inside the letter there is a white, empty space. And this white, empty space is what really lets the letter come out and be revealed on the outside. We see that in the white, empty space inside every letter, which is actually the person himself, there's another reality, a hidden reality. When you, let's say, look at your letter, you see the letter. That's the reality you see right now. But whatever lets the letter be revealed and whatever lets reality be revealed is the same thing, the empty white space. It's the empty white space that cuts the letter out. So it comes out in this shape or in that shape. That space is your hidden reality. And all of this is already inside you. We'll understand it in a moment. We need to understand it. because these are basic laws. It's like physics. There's nothing to argue about. It's like science. You can prove everything. This part inside you, your hidden reality, is the white empty space around and between the letters. If we take one letter and carve it out, the white empty space around it, this cut in the white is what makes the letter appear on the outside. The carving is what makes a letter appear. And once the letter appears, it necessarily hides what carved it. Because if the space was there at the beginning and it carved the letter out, then now, for sure, the letter hides the space. In other words, the letter, the revealed reality, has to hide the space. That is the hidden reality. So in every person, from the moment you're born, you already have a name. It's as if you already got one letter, and inside you, you also have the ability to reach this hidden reality just because you are a something, like a letter, a something whose shape comes only from what came before it, from what cut the white empty space, so the letter can be revealed. And this reality comes before everything you'll ever see in your whole life. It's already inside you from the moment you're born. Now, if you could get access, like on a computer, to your hidden reality, you could do whatever you want. Because there, in that place of hidden reality, all the laws of physics and all the laws of nature that we know and live by don't work. Meaning, the most well-known force in nature, let's say gravity. If there was no gravity, we would just fly up in the air. All the forces we know in physics don't exist in the hidden reality. They're in the reality that no one sees, which is the real meaning of something hidden. Because if there's no one to see, there's no one to know. There's nothing, right? That's the hidden reality. So, why is this called hope? Because whether we want it or not, from the moment you're born, you're given a name. And in this name, there are two, but we think it's only one. Let's say you have a name. We said we can also call it a letter. And this letter can be revealed only because of the empty space around it. So in fact, your name is two. One is what you're going to see with your eyes every single minute of your life. And the second is a reality you can't see by yourself. And because you can't see it and reveal it inside yourself, you'll never see the hidden reality. It will always come before the reality that you see, like the well-known story of the true son of a king and the maid son. The maid son was outside of the palace, but really he was the true son of the king. Really, the one who's on the outside is the true son of a king, but he's called the maid son. That's the reality that has no one to see it. Now that we've understood a little bit, we can start to explain this story. Because if there's something we don't see, we also don't know it, right? And whatever we don't know, there are no words there. There's nothing to talk about. If there is a reality that no one sees, then no one knows anything. And if no one knows anything, how can there be any talk about it? That's why it doesn't appear right away. You have to bring it out by talking about it with hints and examples about something that exists in reality that you can't even talk about. And something wondrous also comes out of this. A clear conclusion comes out of it too. If you say that every person has these two realities inside, the hidden one and the revealed one, then it's a sign that I need to come to that point at some time and that I really can get there. So, what's the main idea of this whole new teaching, this whole story? the main idea is, how can I look at a reality that no one can look at, right? So remember, this is a big rule. If there is a reality where the laws of nature we're used to, like time and place, don't apply, then that reality has no one to see it, no viewer. And because there's no viewer, there's no one to know. And because there's no one to know it, the nature as we know it doesn't apply there. So the question we need to understand, the question we need to focus on in this whole story is, how can I see without seeing? Then I'll be able to reach that hidden reality, which is the freedom of each and every person. So now I'll give another hint, step by step. It takes a long time to understand this thing. Let's compare it to our hand too, okay? Everyone in the world has a hand with 5 fingers. No matter the religion, man or woman, young or old, we all have 5 fingers. And that's not just 5. You can see that these 5 are 4 and 1, right? We have 4 fingers, all point straight forward, and the thumb goes in a different direction. It points to the side. So you see that the 5 are really 4 and 1. So what am I really trying to say here? I'm saying that the thumb is the hidden reality, right? But at the same time, it's also the revealed reality, the one we can see. How is that? Because all 4, we'll see in a moment, the 4 are the story of the viewer and the one who sees, the eyes. That's why we see that in every person's eye, there are 4 parts, right? There are 3 shades of colour inside the eye. And then there's the pupil, which is called the black part of the eye. So you see there are 4 parts in every eye. So from now on, I'm calling the viewer the 4, okay? So all these 4 are 4 roots. And what are roots? Every person, out of all the countless people in the world, in the end will reach one of these 4 roots. And they'll always look at reality, at any situation, in a certain way. Because that's the route they were created with, to see things from that angle. You get it? Now, what are they looking at? They're all looking at reality, which is the thumb. Reality moves between everyone, just like the thumb moves through all the fingers, and each one according to their way of looking at it. Whether it comes from kindness or comes from judgment, they'll look at reality and interpret it according to the root they were born with. And in the same way, reality will treat them. Now, there's a reality that the 4 fingers don't see. A place where the thumb is completely on its own, and then the thumb that has no one to look at it. This is reality that can't be seen at all. Meaning, it's reality that by its nature has no viewer. Because it's everything, nothing exists outside of it. So, in that thumb reality, all the normal laws of nature don't apply. Because we've already seen, and I could make a long list, but I don't have the energy now, of all the things in the world that come in 4s, right? Let's take the simplest examples. We have the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. We have 4 levels of creation, mineral, vegetable, animal, and human. We have 4 elements that make up the whole world, including people, earth, water, air, and fire. And each person, depending on how much of each element they have and their mix, gets a certain character, one kind of form or another, because these 4 can be mixed in endless possibilities. So, 4 elements. In physics, there are 4 forces, and it's the same in everything. In chemistry, in genetics, in every field, you can see that the root is always 4, because that's the essence of the world. and that needs a lesson of its own. So we saw these four, but where do all these forces come from? There are 4 directions, 4 elements, 4 levels of creation, and they all come from the very fact that the viewer itself is also 4. Take the eye, which is 4. Every eye has 3 shades, and the pupil, the black part of the eye. Depending on how the eye sees, it'll see the 4 forces in nature and in everything, okay? So now, this 4, what should we call it if we want to give it a name? What is 4? Let's call it the wisdom of the viewer, okay? Because you're watching, you're looking at the thing, and now you can also see it in simple sense. Take a piece of jewelry, or a woman buying a dress, or buying a bag, and she shows it to all her friends. One says, "Wow, that's beautiful." Another says, "It's not nice." So she goes and buys another dress. You can see that about the same object, say a bag or a piece of jewelry. Every woman in the world will have a different opinion about it. One really loves it, another likes it just a little. And the same with men, with the things they like. You can see that it's as if the viewer isn't connected to reality, because the fact is, the bag is still just one. But let's say this is the situation now. I saw a bag and I want to buy it. And each friend says something different. One will say, "Maybe I'll take another bag, not that one, because it's prettier." Another one will say, "No, I'll take that one, not this one." But we can all see it's the same bag. So where's the story here? It's inside me, in the way I look at it, in my own way of seeing things. How I look at the thumb, which is the absolute reality. That's how it will appear to me. I like it. I don't like it. And in the same way, life itself will appear to me. So just like with the bag or jewelry or anything else, the same thing happens with how I look at the thumb, which is the absolute reality, the 5th element. The way I look at it is the way my life will look. A good life, a less good life. And that's how the whole story of the world will appear to me. So we said there are 4 higher routes for all 4 ways of seeing things in the whole world. But the 5th, the thumb, has never really been known. Why? Because we always explained the thumb and gave it meaning. Each one of the 4 gave their own interpretation to the thumb. But the thumb itself, there's no one to look at it. No one has ever seen it, since it's reality without a viewer. And if no one has seen it, then we don't know it. We can't give it any interpretation, any meaning. And if we can't give it any meaning, because it's like you damaged reality by looking at it. If we can't give it any interpretation, then it doesn't fall under the laws of nature, and it doesn't even enter our world. Anyway, this is the absolute reality, the one that holds all opposites together, where past and future are the same, left and right are the same. That's the place where miracles and wonders exist. Why? Not because they're miracles or wonders, but because it's simply a reality with no viewer, no one to see it. And in that place, everything can exist. Do you also want a simple explanation for this? We can explain it in a very simple way. Why? Because if I look at something, and really I don't want to use the word distort, but in a way it twists reality according to how I see it, right? Why does that happen? Because the very fact that I looked means I'm already inside a world of limits. I'll prove it in a moment. Because sight, that's the viewer, is a servant and carrier for the mind, right? Its job is to bring what the eyes see back to the mind. But since the very existence of the mind is between two opposites, that's the world. Between light and dark, north and south, left and right, west and east. The viewer always has two poles as well. So our way of seeing reality will always be polar, two-sided. Now, every person is somewhere along this line between the two opposite routes in the world. And from that exact spot of the spectrum, that's how they'll look at the whole thing, and that's how they'll interpret it. But in a reality where there's no viewer, no I, that's where all opposites are included together. That's what we call miracles. Because how is it possible that I can float in the air? What? Suddenly there's no gravity. I can get from here to Australia in a single second. Because really, without a viewer, the laws of nature don't apply. It's a completely different world. Simply because this place isn't polarized. That's the story. So, it turns out that anyone who looks at something, by the very definition of looking and a viewer, me, the viewer, looks at something. That makes us two, right? And here's evidence. If someone looks at the bag, I see it one way, and someone else sees it another way. You can see that even just looking is two, meaning a thing and its opposite. That's what makes human life possible. The mind can tell left from right, north from south, light from dark, that itself allows us to see. So each person, according to the level of contrast they have inside their body, will interpret reality better and better. So, in the end, the viewer is always there, whether you want it or not. You think you're one. You just looked at reality now. Now, when you look inside your own house, is that reality? That's reality. Now that you've looked, it's not only you looking, it's two. It's two opposite forces inside you. You can also see this in a very simple way. I don't want to go into detail. How does a person live? By breathing. And what is breathing? A thing and its opposite. Breathing in, breathing out. You can see that the very action of a thing and its opposite is what keeps a person alive. The heart itself, which is a pump, one moment it relaxes, the next it contracts. Again, that's a thing and its opposite. That's what gives us life, so that the dimension of time and space can exist, which is the reality we see. But it's us who create it. But this reality that no one has looked at, where there is no viewer, it doesn't follow the rules of our everyday reality. That reality is the absolute reality. And what is it? That's the thumb without anyone seeing it. So these are two realities. And here's our hope to step out of this world story, because we already said that life is very, very hard. And this is the only way out. How? It would take hours to get into the exact how-to, but let's see if we'll get there. You have to know reality, how to look at reality, at the thumb, without interpreting it. It's like looking at something without really looking at it. A person who can look without looking lives a completely different kind of life than everyone else in the world. Whatever you see, he doesn't see, and he doesn't know it in the same way. Such a person can be here right now and also be in Australia and in America and in England all at the same time. How can that be? You can see if we compare a person to a letter in a book. A letter is just a letter on a page. But the space between the letters, that hidden reality, it surrounds the whole page. So there's no difference between the space at the bottom of the page and the space at the top of the page. It's all the same place. There's no time there. So he can be in all realities, in all places in the world at the same time. And this isn't mysticism. Really, it's not mysticism at all. It's science. It means there's a place where the laws of time and space simply don't apply, okay? And a person who reaches that place is called a truly free person. We call it zero because the essence of zero is exactly that. It's zero, it's nothing. People also don't like being a zero or feeling they have very little, feeling any kind of lack. So the reality of zero is actually the full and complete reality. In other words, is a kind of reality that I can't interpret. That's why it always stays zero balanced without any interpretation. And that's why in zero, the normal forces of nature don't exist. Instead, there are forces beyond time and beyond any limits, wonders that go beyond the natural world as we know it. It's beyond the way nature usually works. And all the numbers are like letters. Each number has its own essence, different from the others. And what is that? It's my own interpretation of reality. I just wanted to connect it all back to zero, because later we'll see that it's the exact opposite of our world. In our world, people always want to go up, to be more, to have more. But really, the absolute wisdom is actually like zero. And what is zero? It's nothing. It's the no thing, just nothingness. And this nothing is a kind of reality without any interpretation. A reality you can actually live inside of, as if you're not looking at it from the outside. It's like looking with the one eye of mercy. You can live within that reality without looking at it, without giving any interpretation, with no judgment. What does it mean not to look at it? It means you're part of it, completely connected, only carrying a memory of yourself inside the story, okay? There was one wise man in the world, and you can't really say there was, because he's always present. The wise man completely stands apart from all the other wise people who ever lived, because he lived inside the reality that no one could ever look at it. It has no viewer. That's why we relate to him differently from all other thinkers and scientists in the world. While they're looking at things, they study them and then tell us what's there, what they saw. And how do we even know about a reality that has no viewer with no one to look at it? We know it from this wise man, because he himself is that reality. He is the great zero. That's the thumb standing alone. And that's what makes him different and unique from everyone else in the world and from all the other wise men. So let's bring just a short saying of his from what he teaches. He says that the act of seeing, meaning the viewer, works like this. The moment I start looking with my eye, what's the eye? As we said before, it's the messenger and the servant of the mind to bring what it sees back to it. And when what I see enters the mind knows what it's looking at, right? But if I don't know what I'm seeing inside the absolute reality, then the mind has no way to interpret it. And what does it mean, there's no interpretation? It's because it holds everything together as one, without separating anything. Let's go back to the wise man's words. Sight, the act of seeing, the viewer, is the servant and messenger of the mind. It brings whatever it sees into the mind, because the point of seeing is knowing, meaning to know the essence of the thing you're looking at. So, what is seeing? Seeing means knowing what you're looking at. Because if you see something without knowing what it is, then you're basically looking at the place that can't be seen. And the knowing, that happens in the mind. And when the mind wants to know the thing in front of it, It sends out the sight, the act of seeing. In another teaching, he explains this in detail. And the seeing goes out, looks at the thing, and then brings it back into the mind. And only then the mind knows what it's seeing. Now, he points out 2 situations that hint at our story. And so, when something passes very quickly in front of a person, he can't know its essence. He doesn't know what it is. What's the paradox? Even though he really did see it with his own eyes, because it passed so fast, there wasn't enough time to bring it into the mind. Another example. When something is far away, why can't a person see something that's far? Because the power of seeing doesn't reach that far and bring it back into the mind. The things he sees around it, from the sides, confuse him, and because the sight spreads out when the object is far away, its power becomes weaker, so it no longer has the strength to bring what he saw into the mind. So, we saw 2 situations. Either when something passes very fast in front of our eyes, even though the eye did see it because of the speed, it didn't really see it, it didn't take it in. Or when the thing is far away. And this is a very, very big secret. Why? Because the wise man writes again and gives us a wonderful rule. He says, looking, meaning the viewer. What does this looking do? It creates a vessel, which means a boundary and a sense of time. Because before the person sees the thing, it has no boundary. But when he sees it, a boundary is created. We can learn from this one sentence for years because of how deep it is, but we'll just say it simply for now. He says that what we just talked about, the revealed reality that everyone sees, why does a person see the thing that he sees? He doesn't even say that he sees the thing he's seeing. He says that the very fact that you could look, you already make the vessel, meaning a boundary and time. He says it clearly. Before a person looks at the thing, that reality, without a viewer, then the reality has no boundary. Only when he looks at it, he gives a boundary to something that has no boundary. So we can see that depending on the viewer's interpretation, he gives the thumb, which is the reality without a viewer, where the laws of nature don't exist because it's beyond time and space. According to the viewer's own interpretation, he gives it a boundary, time, a shape and meaning within the limits. So he'll be able to see it. So, what do we learn from this? That whatever a person can look at, and it doesn't matter if he looks with his own eyes or through a space telescope, it's still called looking. The very act of looking already made a boundary. And that's what the world doesn't understand. Because if there's no boundary, the eye can't see the thing. Because the power of sight that comes out from the eye, we already said that if something is too far, it simply can't see it. So it's clear that inside the revealed reality itself, right inside it, there's also the hidden reality. And what's the hidden reality? It's the reality that exists beyond boundary and beyond time. Something a person can't see it with the eye, because the eye can't see beyond boundary and beyond time. That's why he doesn't see it. But it does exist. So, why don't we see it? Again, because the very act of looking creates a vessel, meaning a boundary and time. Because before you look at the thing, if you didn't see it, then what is it absolute reality? It's without boundary. A reality with no boundary, no time, no form, nothing all. And this is something truly amazing. because the very fact that we're looking at the world, see it, study it, and do scientific work, all of this is looking. And the moment you look at something, you already place the thing you're looking at inside a boundary. You give it a border and a shape. But the thing you've seen by itself without a viewer is an entirely different matter. And today, scientists are starting to discover this in quantum physics. They call it the world of magic, which exists only on the subatomic level, where two opposite things can exist as one. And there are all kinds of wonders happening. But on the level of our everyday reality, this doesn't exist. And I can explain how this magic reality, as the scientists call it, can be brought into our daily life, to every person. So here it's clearly explained, because before a person sees something, before we actually look at it, the thing has no boundary. Now, why does a person say, right now I'm inside my house, but I know there's a street, a road outside? No, you know it because your mind remembers it. The mind uses its power of sight. So once it brought the road to my eyes, my mind now remembers it and remembers there's a road. But in truth, and I'm not joking, there's no house, no stairs, no door, no road. There's nothing at all. Because as we said, the mind only remembers the thing, and memory depends on sight. And really, when you're driving on the street, you think there's a street because your mind remembers it from yesterday. Now, if you're a baby, no one really knows what a baby saw the first time he was on the street. He didn't see anything. He didn't see a road. That's why we're given so many years to grow, so that things will become fixed in our mind, so the mind can remember them. Then we'll know that a tree grows a certain way, even if we didn't actually see it, because the mind remembers it that way. But this is really a kind of virtual reality, because every eye that looked at the world before us, our mother, before we were born, our father, and all the generations before, when they looked at it, they gave it their own of interpretation of boundary and time. But truly, before human beings ever looked at the world, before means before I really looked at something, and the thing has no picture or form in this world at all. Only then a person can set reality and shape it however he wants, because that's the absolute reality. And this is what we call the true prince, the real son of the king, the one who was thrown outside the palace, outside, and he looks like any other ordinary person. While the palace prince, the servant son in palace, that's what people see. But what you see depends on how a person's mind sees things. The more the mind's frequency opens, and we'll see later how to do that, the more the eye can see. It'll be able to see farther, and it'll be able to see more parts of the reality that normally can't be seen. The reality with no viewer. So, there's a state that's relatively simple. If a person is able to train his mind to work on it in a certain way so that it'll lower the percentage of resistance inside it, then he can, for example, see the dead. Because dead is the smallest part of the reality that has no viewer. He'll be able to see everything. And there's a reality before that, and one before that, it never ends until you see the nothingness, the not something. What does it mean that you see the nothing? It's a paradox. It's a thing and it's opposite, because how can you see a nothing? So when a person sees nothing, it means that he can be inside the absolute reality, the one with no boundary and no time, and he sees without seeing, meaning He has zero interpretation of what he sees, and then he's truly part of it. He's one with reality, but still has his memory of the story. This is the meaning of seeing without seeing. And this isn't mysticism. We've nothing to do with mysticism here at all. This is pure science. It just takes time to explain these things, step by step. And this is what gives the world its existence. Now let's give another example. But don't get stuck on the example. Try to catch what it stands for. It actually represents the whole world. For example, the wisdom needed to build a house. That's a kind of wisdom. The engineer, designer, the materials, and so on. That's a wisdom. Now, this wisdom was written down in a book and the teacher passed it on to us. So what is the book made up of? Inside the book itself, which is a kind of reality. There's a part we can see and a part that we can't see. A revealed reality and a hidden reality. Every letter in the book, the letters we learn from, is the part we can see. That's the revealed reality. And the empty space between the letters, the part we can't see because there is no viewer there, that empty space is the hidden reality. That's why we can look at the book and we see that our mind jumps from one letter to another because that's what it can see and make sense of. Because a letter is limited. It has a place, a time, and a shape. But the space between the letters is not limited. So when the mind sends its power of sight to the book, it can see the letter because it hits the letter and returns to the mind. And then the mind knows what it sees. But when the mind sends its power of sight, this messenger, into the empty space between the letters, what comes back to the mind? Nothing. A blackout. Why? Because the very nature of that space, the space between the letters, is a reality with no viewer, meaning this reality has no boundary, it has no time. And if there's no boundary and no time, what did we say? You can't look at it because looking creates a vessel, meaning a boundary and time. So what can the eye see? It can see the letters because the letters have a boundary, a time, a shape. But the empty space, which has boundary and no time, there's no one to see it. It's a reality with no viewer. That's why the eye sees the space simply as just white, as empty, so that I can see the letters and not the space between them, so I can move in the world and build the world. But in truth, who really decides everything? It's the space between the letters. Because without that space, the letters, the whole reality, couldn't exist. And this space between the letters is exactly what the wise man taught us. Those two states. Either something passes very fast, too fast, in front of our eyes, and then we can't see it, or when something is very far away, and then the mind can't see it. So this space, of course, it's far beyond human understanding, because it's beyond place and beyond time. And of course, it moves faster than anything, beyond the speed of light thousands of times over. That's why the eye, which depends on the mind, can't see it. Because how does a person live in this world? Through the mind. And what does the mind send out to the whole being of the body? Boundary and time. It counts. 1, 2, 3. This is boundary and time. So we see that the mind can only pick up things that have boundary and time. They have shape, so it can see them. But when it meets reality, the thumb's reality, the space between the letters, which has no boundary and isn't limited by place or by time, what returns to the eye is only the direct light. And that light has no boundary because the white space itself is the state of before you saw the thing, it's without any boundary. But the letter, on the other hand, is the state of after you saw the thing. So when it reaches the space between one letter and the next, in order to continue to the next letter, that space is the state of before seeing the thing. So it's this space between the letters that makes it possible for us to speak or express anything at all. Because even when I explain something or say hello or good morning, I can only do that only because of the tiny breaks in my speech, the gaps between the sounds, meaning even between the letters when I say hello, the absolute reality is there too, the space between the letters. And the words I'm speaking right now, why are they part of my life, which is the revealed reality? We talked about these many times. I can say to you, hello, good morning, or how are you? But my words can't pass on the experience of the space between the letters, the absolute experience. I can't pass on to you the taste that I tasted or the feeling that I had in my heart when I saw a beautiful sunset on an island and heard music. I can't pass it on to you through speech. Why? For me, that kind of experience falls into the category of too fast or too far away. The same idea we explained before. So, through speech, I can share facts, what I saw, what I heard, what happened, but the real feeling, the experience itself, even science can't define what it is, because the experience is the beginning of a place, that point between the end of a place and what's beyond it. And that's why it doesn't pass through boundary, through speech. I can say to you, this happened and that happened, but you won't feel anything, you won't taste anything, you won't hear anything, you won't feel anything in your heart. But there's a way of talking that brings something else with it. It brings a wave of the reality we can see. And on that wave, another wave comes in, the wave of the space between the letters, which is the hidden reality. And then one person can tell another what he went through, and the other person will actually feel it in his own body. Because in that moment, he touches a reality that's beyond time. So he can go back to the moment that I felt it. He can hear it, taste it, and truly know it, as if he was there with me. This is something we need to keep talking about forever. Okay, so it's a big secret. We need to talk about how to let the human mind, which only exists within time and space, so it can give us boundaries to live and grow within, because only inside a boundary can we discover ourselves, our beauty, our personality, our essence. So how can it take in a reality beyond boundary? Because time is what separates and makes the difference between one thing to another. That's what time does. It only depends on the type of time, but beyond time. It's like not something, nothingness. It includes all the people, everything that was and everything that will be, all at once. So the mind has to work in the opposite way. It has to take the infinite reality, the thumb, the space between the letters, and put it into a boundary and shape according to what a person's eyes can see and handle. That's the idea. Very simple. So now there's a way to do it. There's a method. It's not really a method. It takes years to learn, and we need to learn it together. Now, here's a little taste. I'll take one small point to show you where the reality with no viewer exists in our life, in the reality we see. but without giving the actual way to get there yet. We'll start slowly. We need a lot of small hints to see how the reality with no viewer exists inside the reality we see, while we're always looking at our own story, and the looking itself is what makes you feel distance. You know, because the way you grew up and how you learned, that going from one place to another takes a certain number of hours. You know it because you learned it this way and all that you went through in life. So for you, that's how it's going to be. That's the looking. But if you want to go from one place to another and you let go of what you know, let go of the looking, you cancel the whole story, then you can be there in half a second and still stay in the first place at the same time. And I'll say it again, for the 10th time, this is not mysticism, it's science. And it will slowly be revealed and sorted out in the world, step by step, one thing after another. That's a promise. So just by being human, a person is born with two realities, right? We saw it in the examples. We have 4 fingers. That's the 4. And 4 refers to boundary and time, like the 4 directions of the world, like we said. And the 5th finger, the thumb, shows the reality that's beyond boundary and time, meaning the 5th is always there, right on your hand. The space between the letters is also always there in the book you're reading. But what's the point? You can't see it because it's a reality with no viewer. So that's the thumb itself, the one that is by itself, a reality beyond time and space. It exists as it is, but it doesn't stay like that when one of the four fingers, the 4 roots, looks at it and interprets it. And then, what does the interpretation do after everything we learned? It takes something that's beyond time, space, and shape and brings it down into a limited world, a world of time, place, and shape. That's what looking does. We said that the very act of looking makes a vessel. Why? So that you can see, because before you look, the thing had no boundary. And if it had no boundary, you didn't really see it. So there's no real before and after here, because in a reality with no viewer, there's no past and no future. Because what does before he saw the thing mean? The thing was always there. The before is only before you looked at it. But it was always there. This really takes a lot of deep looking inside. But we're simple people. Let's simply see where that reality is. If we said that reality, the one with no viewer, must exist in our everyday life. So, for this, we need share a little secret. Just one sentence without opening it too much. If a person's mind interprets reality the way he's used to, no matter what the reasons, maybe it's because of how he grew up, his parents, his nature, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about that now. So if he looks at the absolute reality and interprets it through the limits and space he lives in, then we have this kind of rule, and it's 100% true. We just need to explain it more. Everything you see in your life, from the day we're born until the day we die, everything we see, everything that happens to us, everything reality does to us because of the way we look at things, interprets the thumb. Everything we see is what we want to see. We never really see the world itself. We only see our will. I could explain this in depth, but we don't have the time, so I'll explain it in short. The fact is that my mind and my friend's mind aren't the same. Of course they're different, because if I don't look like him, then I also don't think like him. So, obviously, my mind fits my body and my life, my story. So if my mind fits my world, my reality, then inevitably my mind will focus its power of sight on what it needs to see, not what my friend's mind needs. Everyone sees reality, but the evidence is clear. Each person sees it differently. Such tests have been done many times around the world. Take 100 people on the same vacation. Each one comes back with a different experience, with their own impression, with a different story. One will say, "It was amazing." Another will say, "It was terrible." But it was the same place, the same vacation. That's because each mind sees life through its own will. In your world, you only see what you want. Your mind can't see all the other wants and the reality of everyone else in the world. You see, that's why when you walk down the street, let's say in New York, it could really be any place. New York is just famous for having so many people, like endless people. But the truth is, you don't really see them. Why? Because your mind leads you to see only what you want to see. But in absolute reality, everyone around you, every car that passes by you, every small thing that happens by chance, even the tiniest thing you don't notice at all, it's all there. It's all happening, and it all has meaning, and everything is exact, right down to the smallest detail. For example, you trip on the sidewalk or you cross the street and you see this and that. You see that man too. Every bit of it is exact. But really, all the places and situations that I don't even notice are the reality itself, with no viewer. But this reality is inside us and with us all the time. You see? I think there are two things I want to define in this hidden reality, and they're also there in the revealed reality. The hidden reality has to show up somehow. It needs kind of a foothold here, or at least little hints inside the revealed reality. So let's try to define two things that are here in this world. So I'm going to call the first one things that happen by chance. Okay? A person never really knows what's going to happen to them today. For example, God forbid, every single day there are accidents, and every single day someone else finds out that they have some illness. God forbid. God. Or a mother takes a child to school and her son gets hurt. God forbid. It doesn't even matter what exactly happened. Things just happen all the time to everyone, and a person has no control over it, no need to get into it. So, things that happen by chance are the root of fear for everyone in the world. Why fear? Because fear is the very existence of our limits and time, the limits of our eyes, of our mind. The core of who we are is our eyes and our mind. And again, why is there fear? Because if there are things that happen by chance in the world, then there is a lot of fear. There are endless examples. Here's one example out of endless ones. People are driving on the road, keeping to the speed limit, keeping the law, not going even a tiny bit over the limit. And then someone comes from behind and crashes into them as if by chance, and the person dies or gets hurt, God forbid, like it has nothing to do with them at all. That's how it feels. Many people go in for the very same surgery, but some of them don't make it through. These are just examples. Life is full of them. So many people travel on the roads or fly on planes. But the number of people who come back home is always smaller than the number of people who went out in the morning, with each one having their own different story. So if there are things that happen by chance in the world, then that scares us. Who knows what will happen? If I go out today and I behave okay, and I really try to follow the law, and then someone else robs me, or cheats me, or messes things up for me, even by mistake, it's scary. So, things that happen by chance are a big fear for us. But the truth is, if you're aware that there's a reality with no viewer, you start reality in a different way. This is the reality that shows up in the world, inside the random things that seem to happen by chance. And why? Because you can't see what's going to happen by random. That's a reality with no viewer. But in truth, nothing there is really random. There's a very great wisdom in it that you can't understand right now with your human mind. So, why did this happen to you and not to someone else? Only because we don't know that there is a hidden reality. The world calls this random. And there's a lot of fear in that, right? If I don't know what might come my way in the next moment. Another example. Let's say an athlete just went to the mall. He fell and broke his leg and his whole sports career was over. There are countless things that can happen to a person, and he can't know them in advance, right? Why couldn't you know? Because your power of seeing just can't reach it and see it. It's too far away, and it happens too fast for it to come back and form a picture in your mind. So to you, it feels like something that happened by chance. But this is a hint that another reality exists, where this isn't by chance at all, because it's you, specifically you, and not someone else. And it's happening in this exact place, and not anywhere else. Because you couldn't see the hidden reality, you're open to either something good or something bad. Two possibilities. Why something good and something not good? It's because the very nature of seeing is two. There's a viewer and there's what's seen. And because you have both of them inside you, these two opposites, there's good and there's also bad. But in the absolute reality, where looking just doesn't exist, where there's no one to look, there's only one. And this one is all good and only does good. Nothing bad can ever come from this one. It just can't be. There's no way. But this is the reality where there is no viewer at all. And one more thing, we can give by chance another name. We can put it all inside one word, future. We said that absolute reality is completely absolute, and the revealed reality is not absolute. That means you don't know if you'll have something or maybe you won't have it. If something will happen or maybe it won't. So, who is the real king? The absolute one, right? In the absolute reality, which is beyond time, there's no past and no future there. I know it's really very hard for the mind to grasp this. If there's no time, there's no past and no future. There's something else there, and we'll talk about it another time. So if there's no past and no future in that hidden reality, then even here, what we call future and past is just part of the mind's imagination. That's how the mind understands the story, because it reads reality through limits and through time. It has to. Actually, if there's a limit, there's time. And if there's time, it has two sides, past and future. The past and the future themselves are the viewer and the thing that's seen. Do you understand? So, really, there's no future. So future is actually, it's like what we call by chance. The future's already here, but because it only seems far away from you, like distance and like speed, then you don't know what will be in the future. So future is actually a word that refers to a reality without a viewer, because a person doesn't know what will be in the future. It's not that the future will come and you won't know. It's that the eye and the mind can't show you what will be in the future because it hasn't happened yet. Why hasn't it happened yet? Only because it's above space and above time. So it turns out that the future's always here, even what's going to happen soon. And even what's going to happen in 1,000,000 years, it's already here. It only seems far away and very fast, so a human eye can't see it. So the eye calls it the future, and a person can't control it. I'm actually putting everything inside the word future. The future includes all the not knowing, all the uncertainty. That's the biggest fear. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. Why? What does it mean when we say, we don't know what will be tomorrow? It's because I'm used to living in the revealed reality, the one that has a place, a time, and a clear picture. That means I live in a world where I know what will be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this reality of uncertainty is something I just can't handle because it goes beyond my place, my time, and my own form. And when it goes beyond that, that's the root of my fear. This question, what's going to happen? But in the absolute reality, this fear of what's going to happen doesn't really exist. It's only because here in this world, there's no one who sees that reality that it appears to us as uncertainty. It's uncertainty only in relation to the revealed reality where someone sees it, right? The whole unknown in the world is what we don't know. And why don't you know it? Because it's beyond place and beyond time. And like we said, the eye just can't see it. So that is about the simple things that come out of it. But what I call a wonder or a miracle, it's only because I'm in a very limited reality. I mean, in the revealed reality, the one we see, but in the absolute reality, it's not a wonder and it's not a miracle. That's just the normal reality there. There, you can turn one thing into another. For example, you can turn a wooden block into a block of gold, because everything there is the same. Do you get it? So I call something that happened a miracle or wonder from my own reality, which is limited. But there, in that other reality, that same miracle or wonder is just the normal thing. There, that's the usual, okay? So we have two kinds of randomness. And why did I want to stop and talk about this randomness? Because to us it stands for the future and for uncertainty. Because randomness is also uncertainty. It's the unknown. That's fear. But the difference is that with randomness we don't really pay attention. And with uncertainty, we get scared. When it comes to randomness, you don't really think that something random is going to happen by chance. But what is randomness by chance? I can define it like this. It's an empty space with no one guiding it and no intention behind it. It just happened by chance. I mean, someone crashed into my car or I walked past some random people. It was them, of all people, and not other people, as if it was all just by chance. I mean, I see it as something empty. There's no absolute reality there, and there's no one intending it. That's the definition of by chance. In the end, we see that everything is exactly the opposite. There's deliberate intention behind every single thing. Nothing happens by accident. Even in the tiniest detail, you can't blink your eyes without that deliberate intention. Okay, so now I want to continue, because until now we've only given the basics, just a small hint, just a distant understanding about the reality where a viewer doesn't belong at all. A reality that in this world shows up as by chance, as the future, and as uncertainty. But still, it doesn't really let me get to it, right? We just saw that it's here in our world. It's our nature as humans to see what we want to, and all the other places and all the other things are also here with me in this world. But I just don't notice them. Why? Because this reality, the reality of the things I don't notice and don't take in, is a reality with no viewer. And that's also right here, inside this world. Okay? Is that clear to you? Now, let's talk a bit about the root of these things. And after that, we need to talk about the steps to get there. We also need to talk about which gates you can go through, so you can really be someone who sees and is not seen. So, what does it really mean to see and not be seen? It means that you really do see, because you're still here living in this world. But in relation to the absolute reality, you're not seen. That is, you didn't look at it. And if you didn't look in that very second, you're free. We can't really put this into words right now. Each person will understand it from their own understanding. So now, let's just keep going on this path of the places of the unseen reality. The places that show up like traces, like a kind of memory inside this world. So first, let's talk about them from the simple side of the story. Why are there things that happen by chance in this world? Why does there need to be chance at all? Why does there need to be a future if we said that there really is no future? Why does there need to be uncertainty? That scares me. A person can feel as if their very soul is leaving them because of the uncertainty, because of the fear. It's something that can change his whole life, his whole way of thinking, the whole strategy he lives by. All of this is just to explain, in a simple way, why it has to be in the world, before we even start talking about the thing itself. Why are there these situations in the world at all? Just as a metaphor, just as an example, you can say that these situations are like a hiding place of the reality with no viewer. This reality with no viewer, with no one to see it, is hiding right here, inside these by chance or random situations, inside what we call the future, and inside all this not knowing. And why? Because I really do need to think of these situations as uncertainty and as by chance, so that an empty space can open up within me. In that so-called empty space, I can move and do things. I'll have room, and I get a chance for who I am to be revealed. After all these situations are right here in the world. For example, Corona, COVID-19. No one saw it coming, and it changed the whole world. So many people went bankrupt, and how much mess it made in the world. For everyone, for each and every one. There are countless other situations. Suddenly, a war breaks out and it changes everything. For example, look at what happened with Hitler. He was just one person. And then, suddenly, everything started happening. Even governments and countries had no way to prepare for it. So this whole idea of by chance, the future and uncertainty, is itself the hiding of the reality with no viewer. Why does it have to be here? To hide. Why hide? Because not knowing. By chance and the future are exactly the places and situations that the reality with no viewer created on purpose. So we'll think it's not here. So we'll think that the reality with no viewer doesn't exist at all. Wait, it's already so hard to even believe any of this, and it takes a few years just to learn it. As if all that isn't enough for me, you even go and hide it from me on purpose. And then, in this world, you show up to me as by chance, as the future, as the unknown. Are you trying to drive us crazy? No. Why is our reality set up like this for us on purpose? Why do you have to make this world feel so uncertain to me? Wouldn't it be better if everything were certain? If there were no future, we'd just see whatever comes and we wouldn't be afraid. No. Because inside this whole don't be afraid, which is certainty, there has to be a part that is afraid. Just like there are no letters without the empty space between the letters. And just like there's no hand without 4 fingers and 1 thumb. So if there were no uncertainty and no by chance, the whole world of certainty couldn't exist. It's the same here. If there's no empty space between the letters, the letter will never be revealed. Every time I think that something happened to me by chance, and suddenly I get angry, I get upset, I feel hurt, or I start cursing and so on, that's exactly the place where the reality with no viewer wanted me to look and think as if it's not there. So I need to give a simple example that shows where this reality with no viewer appears in our everyday life, in our world of place and time. I mean, a simple example that we can actually see within the reality we live in the revealed reality. It's just a tiny drop in the ocean, like 1 grain of sand, in a whole desert of sand. I want to compare it to a stadium floodlight. You know those big lights in stadiums? It's a huge floodlight, way up high. Now, if we take 1,000 of those floodlights and connect them all together, just for the example, it's still not even a drop in the ocean compared to what it really is. And then we take a person and put that person right in front of this floodlight. What will this person see? Darkness? Nothing. So if, right from the very beginning, the reality with no viewer had been revealed, not that we can really say if it had been revealed, because it simply can't be revealed at all unless there's a viewer. The viewer has to come first. Only after there is a viewer does the viewer, from their own understanding, say, wait, if I'm looking at something, that means there's also something there even when nobody is looking at it. So we said that this absolute reality with no viewer is like one huge stadium floodlight. And if there is such a huge floodlight, you don't see anything around you. You don't see yourself, you don't see the stadium, you don't see the people, you don't see anything at all. That's the reality with no viewer. It's beyond time and beyond place. Like it says in the ancient books, because it's too far and too high, there's not enough strength in the power of sight to reach the mind and to see it. So of course, like in our example, 1,000 floodlights have to shrink themselves as if they were darkness, so that there can be light, and so that every single detail of creation can be revealed. In other words, the fact that something is revealed, the revealing itself already means there are 2. The viewer and what is being seen. And this very act of revealing that something is revealed already means there have to be 2. There has to be a past and a future. There has to be good and bad. Go outside and see for yourselves. not only in this generation, but in every generation. Show me even one person who's born and died knowing only one side, who only had good in their life or only had bad. There's no such thing. The two have to keep switching places, sometimes good, sometimes bad. We've never seen a reality that's only light or only darkness. Why is there light for part of the time and darkness for part of the time? Because that's the very existence of the viewer's opposites. The very fact that there are opposites, that itself is the viewer's existence. That's the reality with no viewer. It's beyond time and beyond place, like it says in the ancient books, because it's too far and too high. There's not enough strength in the power of sight to reach the mind and to see it. So of course, like in our example, 1,000 floodlights have to shrink themselves as if they were darkness, so that there can be light, and so that every single detail of creation can be revealed. That's why there's such a thing as random. I mean, we think that some things are just random and that there's an empty space with no plan and with no intention behind it. But this very thing that feels random and empty to us, that itself is the huge stadium floodlight that we just can't see. It has to hide itself from your conscious mind so you can keep on walking, keep on building and doing within time and place. But without these situations, what we call random, future, and not knowing what will be, uncertainty, there wouldn't be any certainty at all about anything. When absolute reality wanted to show itself, it couldn't, because there was no one there to see it. And if someone actually saw it, that alone would already spoil that reality. And also, if this is absolute reality, then who's the viewer? And because there's nothing besides it, then who really is the viewer? This is also a huge and wonderful secret. But I don't want to go on anymore and get lost in more and more side paths. If we said that the reality with no viewer in it is the one and only reality, that it's completely whole, that it includes everything, there's nothing else at all besides it, then how could anyone even look at it? Where would he suddenly come from? That's also a secret you only learn along the way. So this reality with no viewer in it had to hide itself within this world that does have a viewer. So the dimension of time and place could exist, so that we could live and work in it. And first of all, there we would have our own revelation. And after our own revelation happens here in the revealed reality, we'll be able to go back to the whole place, to the absolute reality, the place that was there before any viewer, the place we're a part of. That's why at first we have to think things like, oops, oh no, as if it all just happened by chance. And sometimes it just happened by chance turns out to be a good thing. Think about a big country. There are millions of people there, and only one of them wins the lottery. Take America, for example. There are about 300 million people. There's a lottery and you win. You're one out of 300 million. Why you, of all people? That feels random, right? So this kind of random has to exist, because the very fact that one person out of 300 million just happens to win, this itself is the hiding of the reality with no viewer, so that you can live, so that your existence and your revelation can happen within the reality that has a viewer. So it has to show up here in this world. It's like a lottery. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. You get it? Again, it's something with two opposite sides. It can flip either way at any moment. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's light, sometimes it's dark. So what makes it go one way sometimes and the other way at other times? It's the looking itself, because the act of looking, as we said, creates place and time. And place and time always mean two. If there's only one thing, there's no place at all. Place exists only between one side and the other. So the beginning and the end of any place are always opposites, like north and south, right and left. And it's the same with time. Within time, I can move and act between past and future, a thing and its opposite. And within time, I can act and do things, not for the sake of doing. I act so I can undo the story, so I can return to the state before the doing, before action, before work, before I did anything. It's nullification, and there are many kinds. I'll try to explain it. Everyone knows that when a person works, he earns money. But when someone earns money and gives it to someone else, to someone in need, that's undoing the act of earning. In that moment, he returns to the state before he worked, before he earned anything. Someone ran into you and your coffee spilled everywhere, and instead of yelling, you hold it in, even a little. It's also a kind of nullification, a kind of undoing. And why do I even need all of this? Because only after I gawned, developed within certainty, within clear limits, within a defined place, can I remember myself after I remember the place with no viewer. And only then can I remember who I am in a reality with no viewer. And that's called to see without being seen. I'll explain this term later on, because if I don't remember myself, I'm also living in a parallel world, a world with no viewer. And there, in that absolute reality, I am free. Right now. Because a reality with no viewer is beyond time and limits. It includes all the possibilities in the world. And I can change and switch everything around. I can be anything I want to. So why am I not free here and now in this world? Because I'm not aware that I'm there. Because I have no memory in the absolute reality that I'm there. But I am there. It's just that the reality with no viewer had to be hidden so that there would be a viewer. Once there's a viewer, there are already two. And only from the two, if you understand one thing from another, you can go back to the one. After you've been separated from the one, you know who you are, so you can return to the reality with no viewer. But this time, you're carrying the memory that you are living in it. And when you live in the reality with no viewer, the laws of nature don't apply. It turns out that as long as the world exists, while we were here, we didn't know. We didn't really see. We haven't really understood anything at all. Because the moment a person tries to understand the world, through different kinds of wisdom or through science, right away there's a viewer who interprets and changes the situation. What does it mean when a scientist studies something? It means you're a viewer. You're looking at the thing from the outside. Now there are two, you and the thing. Just by the scientist looking at what's being observed, it's already no longer the thing itself. He gave a certain interpretation to the situation, but it's not the real state itself. Because the moment there's a viewer, there's someone interpreting, and that changes the situation. You see, what does it mean to see without being seen? When you manage to give of yourself, and to leave an empty space from your share, and to be no thing, when you understand that reality as it is in all the situations that are the opposite of your will, is the real story. And you don't resist it. You make peace with it. Then you can look at reality without interpreting it, without putting it into a boundary. And then you're completely given to reality, and you become the reality itself. And still, the memory of who you are remains. You are the very special you. In this state, you lead reality. That is, you can change it for the better. What does it mean that you are not seen in the complete, absolute reality? In fact, you do exist and live in the ordinary reality that people grasp within limits. Your reality will not disappear from the world. It's just that whoever looks at you doesn't know, can't know, that inside you are a person without limits. That is, the wonderful reality you live in is not visible to the eye because you don't take up space. People don't see, they can't see that you are something wonderful and special. As we explained before, when the viewer looks and gives an interpretation, reality is no longer absolute, because the very act of viewing puts reality into the limits of place and time, and the eye can't see an absolute reality, because the moment the eye sees it, it turns it into something limited, with boundaries, into a material thing, not the complete reality. This is called seeing and not being seen. You get it? From here, we can see that we didn't really understand anything. But that not understanding is exactly what helped us understand. Let me explain. Because we didn't understand the absolute truth, which is like a million floodlights. If you look straight at them, the light is so strong that it blinds you, as if there's nothing there at all. So in the meantime, we were able to create and invent things, computers, planes, cars, but it gave us more advanced tools not to actually help us. Because if a person really thinks about it, we'll see that all the tools human wisdom has invented so far haven't helped our soul, haven't helped our spirit, and haven't helped our body. Why? They helped us on the outside. It's easier to move faster, easier to get around, easier to manage life. But the truth is, the bigger and more advanced the inventions become, the more unstable a person's inner world becomes. More anxiety, more fear, more depression, more of a mess. We can see that the wisdom of today, the wisdom of the viewer, the wisdom of the 4 fingers of the hand has not made the human being stronger on the inside. It hasn't made us stronger spiritually, mentally, or physically. It's wisdom from the outside, simply by being the viewer of what is seen. So we can see that we also didn't really understand anything. And we didn't understand anything, so we could understand something else. Technology and everything around it. Through it, we'll be able to understand the reality with no viewer. And then a person will have strength that never runs out. That's why it has to show up in the world today. It must. It's not random. I hear so many young kids today in this generation, and they all admire superheroes. Why? Because a child, no matter how small, somehow knows there is such a thing as a superhero. And what's a superhero? It's a hero with powers beyond nature, powers that come from the reality with no viewer. So everyone wants to be a superhero. And why does this idea keep showing up in the mind of the screenwriters, storytellers, and filmmakers? Because that's the real reality. So for now, it shows up as hints in the movies. And there isn't a single person in the world who doesn't want to be a superhero to save everyone. Suddenly, he floats. Suddenly, he flies. And that's all true. But where? Only in the reality with no viewer. Which kind of reality with no viewer? not the one at the beginning, not the one that is before there was any viewer. There are two kinds of reality with no viewer. The first is before creation, before there was a viewer, and the second is the one after creation, the one with the memory of the viewer, because only after there's a viewer in it do you have a place to remember yourself. And then you go back to the reality with no viewer, but this time with a memory. To see without being seen. All of this is done with great wisdom. We see that what looks like randomness in our lives, what looks like future as an empty place with no one guiding it, with no intention behind it, isn't random at all. It's actually guided by something great. God is there, guiding it all. Everything is done with great wisdom.